On the 10th of December, we will celebrate 75 years of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I want to quote the preamble of the Declaration. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. The Declaration is the ground-laying document on which many other instruments are laying and has been the basis for further conventions binding such. We know that today it seems more important than ever that we work for the principles of the Declaration, because too often they are broken, the principles that are described in the Declaration. And we see also that more barbarous wars and long-lasting wars are waged and breaching those principles. Let me say that respect for human rights means a more secure world. As I said, there are many instruments that have been established building on the Declaration. But there is one that is missing, and that is the convention and a tribunal judging on that convention on war of aggression. We need such an instrument because we know that too many aggressive wars are waged today. And I'm very happy to say that an esteemed member of Liberal International's Human Rights Committee, Irvine Kotler, is among those who advocate for such a tribunal. I mentioned Liberal International's Human Rights Committee. It's the oldest of Liberal International's committees, established quite many years ago, to coordinate and to intensify our actions for human rights in the spirit of the Universal Declaration. The work of the Human Rights Committee, which I have the honor to chair, tries to concentrate on one hand on thematic issues like the shrinking democratic space or the advancement of women's rights, rights of other minority groups. Today we have too many examples where the actions of liberals and our Human Rights Committee is needed. Let me quote that this week in Venezuela, arrest warrants have been issued for those who are helping Maria Corina Machado, the opposition candidate for the presidency of Venezuela, and we are fearing that they will be arrested and sentenced. So I call all of you to action, to remind your decision makers, your foreign ministers, to hinder that Pedro, Henry or Claudia will be sentenced and arrested. That was one of the examples of our work. Another is the work that we have continued for years to support Senator de Lima in the Philippines, who was for many years also unlawfully arrested because we had the ruler Duterte who could not support her actions. But on a happier note, as I said, she has now been freed of all charges that were raised against her. And last but not least, let me say that in the spirit of the Declaration, Liberal International also gives annually the Freedom Award. It was a touching moment in mid-November when we could hand the 2023 award to Evgenia Karamursa on behalf of her husband. She received it. We know that her husband, Vladimir Karamursa, is sentenced to an extremely long term, 25 years, to be served in exclusion in Siberia. And we are continuing the work to get him freed of this unlawful sentence. Dear friends, these were some examples of the work that Liberal International and the Human Rights Committee carries on to make the Universal Declaration a living document. Let's continue that work together.